Hi everybody. So today I have to do a restock of my Dreamy Lavender soap. So I figured since I have to do that today, and since I have the house to myself and it's going to be nice and quiet minus the dogs, you might hear them bark every once in a while. So I figured I'd show you guys my take on the heat transfer method and why I love it so much. It is so fast and it is so easy. I think it took me longer to prep all of my stuff than it does to actually physically make the soap. So I can do from start to finish, that's pouring my lye water in, to spraying the top of my soap with rubbing alcohol. I think it takes me 25 minutes. So this way I don't have to wait for my lye water to cool. I don't have to wait for my oils to cool. There's no pre-melting and waiting, because I don't like to wait. I'm too busy and I have too much stuff to do to keep waiting in between for batches. So what I have in my bowl is I have coconut oil and my palm oil. I've pre-measured my olive oil, or not olive oil, I'm using sunflower, canola, and castor oil. So I pre-measured those just to make things for video purposes to go a little bit quicker. Normally after it's done melting, I just kind of free pour, zip it with the stick blender, and off we go. So the scent that I'm using today is the lavender fragrance oil. I do have lavender essential oil, but I have found that the fragrance oil, I like it a lot more. I'm not a huge fan of the lavender essential oils. And my customers seem to really enjoy the lavender fragrance oil from New Directions. I am also going to be coloring the purple. I don't know if you guys can see that. I am using Coastal Grapes, I believe. Yeah, here it is. So I'm using Coastal Grapes. This is a Seraphina's Coastal Colors. I really like her micas because they don't change or do anything crazy. So she pre-tests them in cold process batches, so that's why I really like them. And I am using oil-soluble titanium dioxide, not the water-soluble. I don't know, I've been using the oil-soluble for a really long time, and I really like it. So I haven't even had a chance to, I've never even used the water-soluble, just the oil-soluble. But if you wanted to recreate this soap, you can definitely use the water soluble, no problem. So I have my water already measured out, and I put some sea salt in my water. What else? I think that that's everything. So now I can measure my lye out and then pour it into my water, and then we'll dump it in here. And once again, my disclaimer is I do not wear gloves. So please do your own research. Read up about lye safety, so you can make an informed decision and make sure that you are doing what is safe and good for you. I say this in every video that I make. If I can't feel it, I drop it. So I would rather avoid a whole bunch of like really hazardous soapy accidents. And I haven't had any issues with, you know, getting burned or any reactions. So that's my take on it. But I just want to put a disclaimer. Please watch some lye safety videos. Soap Queen has some really good videos. So you can always pop over to her channel and she can fill you in. One thing I do is that I do make sure that my eyes are protected, because it's easy to wash lye and soap and everything else off your hands. It's a little bit harder to do that out of your eyeballs. So we're going to add all of this lye into my water. So I'm going to mix this around and make sure that all of my lye is fully dissolved. Normally people will wait for their lye water to clear before they dump everything into their, like if you're doing hot process soap, you'll wait till your lye water clears and then you can just dump it into your pot. But here, I don't want to lose too much heat, only because I live in Canada and it's October and my house generally sits around 19-20 degrees, which is 69, 68, 70 degrees Fahrenheit, I think. So it's a little bit cooler. So because of that, all of my coconut oil and everything is quite solid. So I got lots of squeak. I don't have any more crystals. Everything's all nicely dissolved. So now we're going to dump the lye water into our pot. If you live in a much warmer climate where your coconut oil is pretty much liquid 365 days a year, this might not work quite as well for you because you're still going to retain a lot of heat, whereas because everything in my house is a lot cooler, it helps to cool this off and you get a lot more playtime. Set that aside. Okay. So normally what I would do is, if I wasn't filming, I would dump the lye water into here and then I would just stir it around, and while that was melting, then I would go ahead and mix all of my colors. But I did that all ahead of time. But no, you just sit here and you stir and you stir and wiggle it back and forth. I didn't cut up my palm oil quite as into small chunks as I normally do, so it'll take a little bit longer for everything to dissolve. I'll grab my heat gun. So to give you an idea, I'm sitting at 41, 43, 42 degrees Celsius, which works out to be about 109 degrees Fahrenheit. So this is going to continue to keep cooling, and then when I add my liquid oils, which are sitting at 67 degrees, oh, my house is a little bit cooler than I thought. So my oils at room temperature are 67 degrees Fahrenheit, which is oh, no, that works about right. 19.7 degrees Celsius, so that's right on. Yeah, so 67 degrees Fahrenheit is what my room temperature is sitting at. So when this is all melted, I will take another temperature for you guys, and it should drop it down quite a bit. But we're just going to sit here and wait for this to keep melting. And 135, 134. So if your temperature does start to go up, don't worry. If I just bring this to light trace and I don't add any fragrance oil, I can have up to an hour of playtime with this recipe. I did a layered soap, and that's what I did, so that I just split the batch into two. Did half my batch in white, and I used the oil-soluble titanium dioxide, and then I used a gold mica, and then I just layered the soaps. So split it into four, would add the fragrance oil, add it into my mold, wait for that layer to set up, and then repeat in alternating colors. And like I said, it took me about an hour, but I had a lot of playtime with this recipe. Okay, so I think that little chunk should be okay. So we're going to grab our liquid oils. And like I said, I normally free pour because then I don't have to do another set of dishes, but this will work because it goes by a little bit quicker. Alrighty, let's take a temperature and see what that dropped that down to. Now we're at about 100. It jumps from about 110 degrees. So now I'm gonna zip it up quickly with the stick blender. what I have is, I have my little Chloroplast molds. These things are great. I love them. They're quite easy. This one I held together with a little bit of painter's tape. This one I just left the binder clips on. And then I just cover up the little holes on the side with a little bit of tape. So it doesn't really matter if it sticks. Only because in this way when I'm pouring, I don't get soap all down inside the holes. Although these ones have had leaks before I started taping the ends with press and seal wrap. The sides here, I don't line them with anything. So they're quite nice. So I'm going to start pouring a little bit of white into each. And as you can see, that's still really fluid. So this is going to take a little while. So I am going to pause the video, clean up a little bit, and then I will come back when it's time to texture the top. Okay. Okay, so I'm back and it's been about 20 minutes and it's still, like, it's getting a little bit firm, so I think I'm going to be okay. So we're going to drizzle some of this over. There we go. And that is the making of Dreamy Lavender. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to let this hang out here for a little while and let it set up a little bit more before I decide to move it. Because like I said, it's still really liquidy and it's been over half an hour. And I need to get this to hurry up and do its thing so that I can get going and doing some more stuff. So tomorrow I'm going to unmold this and then I'll bring you guys back for the cut and then we'll see what the inside looks like. So I will bring you back then. Okay, so I am back the next day. One thing I found is that it's still really soft today, which is not normal for this batch. So what that means is that my house has been a little bit too cold, so it's kind of slowing the saponification process down. So when you guys saw earlier, what I did was that the way that they were pressed together is that's how I let them sit. So the sides where they were put together were nice and firm. However, the sides that were left on the outside are still a little bit soft. So I'm just going to have to start insulating my soaps again and just kind of wrapping them up to help speed up the saponification process and get the heat in there and let it do its thing. So we're going to go ahead and cut these. What I'm going to do, and because they are still a little soft, that's totally fine because I'm still going to bevel and plane the sides so it won't be too bad. So I'm going to go ahead and trim both my ends off. So yeah, I'm going to clean up a little bit because I have lavender buds all over the place, and then I'm going to cut this other loaf and then I'll post some pictures at the end. So